On PM Express tonight, the key question that the University of Ghana Political Science Department has posed in a survey that had just been published. Why are NDC MPs outperforming their NPP colleagues on several levels? It will be interrogating that survey that were published today by the center, the University, the Political Science Department of the school. They had spoken to 27,500 respondents, and that is in 5 electoral areas were selected from 275 constituencies, and that's a lot of electoral areas that he had looked at in that survey. And the questions were covered projects executed by the MPs, relationships with the community, etc. Now, this, for example, is one of the key tables that they looked at. The religion of the respondents is key, as you can see in the background. How often does your MP visit your constituency was a key thing. And this is also tracking the real jobs of the NP as against what the people's expectations are. And so you find that on the question of how often does your MP visit your constituency, if you look at the NPP NDC divide, it's very interesting. If you look at this part, has never visited since elected. For NPP, the respondents, majority of them, 45.2% said the NPP MPs have never visited since they were elected, compared to a slightly lower number of 42.6% saying that the NDC have never visited. And if you look at weekly, for example, again, you see there again that how often do they visit your constituency? MPP respondent 2.5% say MPP MPs do visit, compared to 1.7%. That is something we'll look at. How often MPs visit constituency office, and this is different from how often they visit the constituency. And you find when we start a conversation that more MPP MPs have constituency offices compared to NDC MPs. But when it comes to visits, this is what the story is. Never comes to the constituency office. More respondents say NPP MPs never come to the constituency office. There's a slightly lower number say NDC MPs never come. And so that in itself is an interesting one to look at. Are you satisfied with your MP's communication? Again, if you look at it, the number of people who said yes, we are satisfied with the communication, and this is across the country. For MPP, 74.9% say they are satisfied with the communication they get from the IMP. NDC, you see that there's a slightly higher number of respondents saying they are happy and satisfied with the communication they get from their NDC MPs. Again, that's why again the NDC MPs do better according to the poll results. Now, and this for me is, I guess, one of the most intriguing responses. Explanation of government policies. And you think that more MPP MPs will be seen as explaining government policies to their constituents than NDC MPs. But that's not what the survey has shown. And you see that when we begin the conversation shortly. Does your MP assist people get employment opportunities? And that is obvious. The more people say MPP MPs assist them get employment, MPP MPs have their government in power, and I guess that translates into more connections and ability to influence processes to assist their constituents. Now, and this is another question they asked about which minister they believe is doing well, and the first on the list, as you saw earlier, is the education minister. Out of 10 that names came up, he topped it. So tonight, the question is, why is this happening? But also look at the performance of the MPs generally, as assessed by the members of parliament. Stay with us here on PMS. It's something that affects you in your constituency, wherever you are. Let's interrogate this together. We are back after this break. live on PM Express. My guest in the studio is Yabomia Samoa. He is the MP for Adentan, my constituency, but he's also the communications director for the New Patriotic Party. Also with me in the studio is Roxing Dafia Mekpo. He's been here before, and of course joining us on this very important conversation. He is MP for South Dai and a member of the Constitutional Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee in Parliament.
Indeed.
Yes, and
both of us are.
Oh, both of you are. Okay, so two lawyers. Dafia Mekpo is telling me his primary is coming up very soon in his constituency. I don't know. Yeah, is yours coming up to your primary?
Hopefully.
Hopefully. His is next month.
Yes, hopefully. Also, hopefully.
He's hot.
You must wish him well.
He's hot.
You must wish him.
Yeah, Roxy is doing well.
You must wish him well.
He'll be fine.
Yes, and so yeah, the political season is just about starting. Once you see the MP going to primary, it has started already. Yes, and he's deep undercover.
The ground is brewing.
It's brewing. Yes. So yes. But that is, I guess, linked to the conversation you're going to have. The MPs, they need to get elected. But people are not just going to elect you because they like your face. They want to elect you based on what they perceive you're doing. And I've had MPs today who, some of them participated in the launch of this report, and they say it's very good for them to assess themselves about how they are faring because you are giving them feedback on how they are faring. 27,500 of you, that's a huge figure. For any research, and we'll talk about the general things you said about the MPs regardless of their political color, but let's start with how you rank them in terms of which party is doing better on some of the key indicators. And Mr. Babesam, I want to start because you are a party's communications director. This may interest you. Explanation of government policies, MPP. If you look at the total, 17% answered yes. MPs were explaining government policies, as against NDC, 18.9%. It's marginal, but it shows that more of the respondents thought that NDC MPs were explaining government policies better than MPP MPs. That is something that must be curious for you.
Often or better? Unfortunately, I had planned to be there this morning.
Oh, at the event?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And let me first of all say good evening to my constituency in Adenta. And since you're a constituent, you know that I'm
Let me declare my interest.
I'm beginning to do certain things.
I am a member of his constituency.
Yes. Certain things are making you happy, at least for now. But I think there's a certain incumbency. Shall I say disadvantage or jinx? Amazingly.
Okay.
There's a certain higher expectation of an incumbent. And there's a certain pressure on an incumbent that is slightly less on the opposition, as it were. But like you say, it's curious that being an incumbent, you ought to be on top of government policy and otherwise. But probably it's those other distractions that compel you as an incumbent that makes you less attentive. Not that you don't know about the policies, but you're probably not applying enough space to that part of you because you are trying to divide yourself across so many things as an incumbent. I think we need to explore.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
But for you, because you hold those two positions, your primary, I guess what people say, one of the primary jobs is to lead the party's ability to communicate because your fortunes are linked. If you're unable to, the party is not able to communicate properly your government's policies, the effect, some may say, is that then they'll punish their party in the poll because they don't understand what your party is doing.
It's a shared responsibility. Because
so when you hear that your MPs,
we're in government. Our MPs could do better, but I think they are doing quite well so far, and we will improve as we go forward. Imparting information, imparting policy issues is a shared responsibility. But if you look at the other matters that are raised, you realize that there are expectations
of you
impinging on the role.
We'll come to that.
So it's part of it. It's linked.
It's linked
because that expectation inhibits the incumbent a bit more than the
because I'm opposition. Thinking that they for when you ask people who is explaining government policies, I was thinking it should be you shouldn't think it should be the MPP MP
exactly
because his interest is more
but
lose more.
You need to set up fora, you need to engage. And many of us are hesitant, and I will say guilty as well, hesitant to engage sometimes because you feel that the expectations are constricting you.
Okay.
So some, it's not as if you don't know about the government policies.
You do.
You do. Okay. But it's about the appropriate fora in which to impart that knowledge. Because those fora inevitably bring other expectations on board. So as an incumbent, you are engaging, but at the same time, within a context where you feel that you are constrained or you are limited in certain expectations. Because what really is happening is that we need to begin, and I'm happy these things are coming up, we need to really engage on who an MP should be.
And that is fundamental when we come to talk about the bigger issues that came up.
Because clearly,
people don't seem to appreciate
who an MP is. Because clearly,
but then the question of whose fault is it? Because we will come to that, because you actually see answers in here whose fault. Because MPs are promising a whole lot.
Yeah, sometimes.
So
for example, I have been said to have promised roads. When, from my background as a civil society person, governance person, I was very careful in my messaging not to promise something that was not within my jurisdiction. Yeah. But people say that. Oh, he promised this, he hasn't brought it.
When you didn't actually do promise.
Exactly, because there's that assumption, that expectation. And the first thing at local level is that you are the development leader. And therefore, you are responsible for the roads, you are responsible for the flooding, you are responsible for the electricity, you are responsible for literally everything that, by law, is in the can of the district assembly.
We'll explore that in detail. My final question on this, and I'll get Roxanne's view on this, is if the NDC MPs are explaining government policies, what are they really doing? What are they actually saying to the people? That's my curiosity. if the respondents say, more of them say NDC MPs are, you must be worried what exactly you're telling them.
I wish I knew, but knowing Roxanne, he'll be telling them everything that he thinks we shouldn't be doing that we are doing.
You know?
So,
but that must worry you.
But no, I'm not worried. I am not too worried. You see, for some of these things, there's a certain evidentiary feel to it. When you feel something, when you see something, something impacts you, it's direct.
Okay.
It's very direct.
Regardless of what somebody tells you.
Regardless of what somebody tells you. And sometimes when we are speaking to constituents, they see through us. They can determine whether you're on the roll or you are trying to flip-flop or otherwise. So they see through us. So it's important that we appreciate that whatever we are doing, whatever we are saying, it's much against their expectations. And their expectations are the driving force behind whether or not they approve what we do. Notwithstanding the fact that probably what we do is according to what we are supposed to do.
Yeah.
It is their expectation that is driving what they think we should be doing.
Yeah.
So if you're an incumbent, naturally, the expectations are much higher than
when you're in opposition.
The opposition. Yeah. And the opposition can come in and say things. Oh, there should have been a road here and it's not there. It means they are not working. It's a message. The government policy that roads should be there. So he's not going to tell you the constraints about financing.
No.
He's not going to tell you about prioritization. He's not going to tell you that everything has to come in an envelope this way, that way, or otherwise. He will simply say that government should provide this road and it's not there, and that vote for me, and then when I come in, it will be better. He may not say he will do it. He will say it will be better. You understand?
So that he doesn't commit.
So he doesn't commit. But then what it means that when the incumbent comes in, the incumbent is constrained to explain. And you become long-winded.
And they'll hold you accountable.
Thank you.
When you know you don't have the purse, you're not the person.
So do you go in and tell them that, oh, I'm the MP, but this is not my business?
Okay.
Or do you go in and say that, oh, I'm the MP, but I'll get the central government or the assembly to try and do it, and then you look a little.
So that's why incumbent MP will not go. If sometimes.
When we go, we are constrained by the overall circumstance, the national context, the district assembly context. You know, all of that constrains you as an MP.
That's
because you know where you stand.
Yeah.
But are you easily able to communicate where you stand?
They will not hear you if you stand like that. It's not my responsibility.
Expectations are
they'll probably stone you if you go there. They tell them that the road is not my. It's the minister. They don't get it.
When you're in bed at 2 a.m. and somebody calls you that the lights just went off. What are the electricity people doing?
That you tell him is the energy minister's fault.
Thank you. What do you do in that? They will not call the opposition MP to tell him that the lights are off. But when he does get to know that the lights are off and he's willing to, he can easily step up and say that see, your lights are off. These guys are not performing. That's also an explanation of government policy. In a sense.
True.
Yeah.
But Roxy, just on that point, and I know there's a lot to get through on this, but just on that point, in your constituency, I know you've been doing a lot of work already in your constituency. Do you touch on government policy?
Yes.
And how do you spin it?
Yeah. Oh no.
You spin it. I mean, come on.
No.
You spin it.
No.
That's Roxy.
No. Evans, let me seize the opportunity to say good evening to my constituents.
Okay.
Peki Kwali Kweve Tongo. You know, it's interesting we are looking at the research report as has been outdoor today by the Political Science Department of the University of Ghana, my own school. So,
oh, you were there?
Yeah. Okay. So, it was my senior. So, if the department of that famous political science department has come out with this, then we need to take it serious. This is a very comfortable area for me to. I've actually lectured in research methods at the tertiary level, so. But I'm worried about some of the indices they've used.
Oh, okay.
But we'll get to that. Now, in my constituency, in fact, I just came back after about 3 weeks out during the recess, explaining government policy, particularly regarding, for instance, the effect of the national ID registrations.
You explaining the government policy to your constituents?
Yes, you need to. You need to. And first of all, I did so by explaining to my executives, you know, my constituency executives as well as my branch executives. And then I engage the communities. So I touch on 3 basic things that are presently ongoing: the national ID registration, the limited registration to be conducted by EC, and then the referendum, and then the effect of if we agree that it is a yes, what will be the implications, the various electoral areas, and then if we agree that it is no, the implications, then the effect of the upcoming district assembly elections. Then aside from that, the EC's position until it became a court matter. When I was going around, it wasn't a subject of a court matter. So how to even mobilize the young ones who have attained 18 to get their names written, so you can mobilize transportation for them to travel from, say, Ajebi or Chienu or Vegbe or Chokpokopek to the district capital in Kweve. Some are as far as 40 kilometers away. You needed to let the people appreciate that and prepare the ground so that when the time comes, you can mobilize and let them go. Because there are economic cost implications. And a lot of parents may not be able to give their award 10 cities to travel to Kweve and go and register and return home.
Yeah.
So the stakeholders should be able to assist. Now, when it comes to education, we are looking at, I've explained the point that, for instance, we have 4 BEC centers in South Dine. We have 2 in Peki. We have 4 traditional areas. We have 2 of the centers in Peki. And we have 1 in Kweve and 1 in my hometown, Tongo. But you have over 55 communities. With over, now they have about 950 candidates. Next year it will go up. Last year they were about 850. This year it's about 940. So next year I hope that it will be over 1,000. Can we continue to zone them into just 4 WAEC centers? Because if you look at Kweve, for instance, or Todome, the people from Kaira, Chate, New Kaira, and Todome and its environs, they must travel. They can't walk by Ibome. You must transport them. It's become a burden for the stakeholders. Even Peki, which is fairly contiguous in terms of how the settlements are, they are very close. You don't expect a candidate to walk from, say, or Ajokwe.
Of how many kilometers?
Or Wudume. Ajokwe is about 12 kilometers from Jake or Blango, Avetile, where the center is. The center one is at GovCo, the training college.
So the point you're making is that in all this, whether you're an opposition MP or not, you have to explain how the government, existing government policy,
yes, you owe them that duty and how
it's affecting your life, and why they're seeing
you can help.
So that's the point it makes.
Yes.
So when you explain,
yes,
then you chip in how you can make it better.
Exactly. No. Yes. Or how you can assist to assuage if there are difficulties.
Okay.
You know, and let the people appreciate how they can take advantage of the policy.
Okay.
As it were. So if I don't transport the young ones who have turned 18 from Ajebu to Peve, they may not be able to register. Okay. And if I don't facilitate the movement of sick people from Ajebu to Peki Government Hospital, they may not be able to take advantage of the healthcare or the kind of healthcare treatment that is covered under
but
the
why
NHI.
is the MP doing a transportation when there's DCE there?
You see, that's the problem. We'll come to that point.
Let's do it now because it's fundamental. Because if you look at the poll results and the role of MPs, let's do it. I'll come at the NDC MP divide.
I am going to touch. No. Yeah, I spoke a lot. So
on the NDC MP thing.
No. On the different facets of the report. So I wish that you give me the opportunity to do so.
We'll do that. But that's
exactly. Hold on. I have in my hand. We just considered the proposal by government to amend the constitution.
Okay.
We just did that
purpose?
this afternoon. No.
To get
to get MMDCs elected.
Okay.
There are serious implications when that is done. Okay, it will take the pressure off MPs, as it were, maybe by 50%, because I will not be the only elected representative of the people of South Dine. There will be another fellow who will also be an elected representative, and he will be primarily resident in the constituency or district. I will be in Accra, transiting between Accra and the district, but he or she will be ordinary resident, also elected, similar responsibilities and obligations. Because if you don't deliver on your mandate, the people will take you out. But what is fundamentally, beautiful about this arrangement is that
the existing one or the one that you are amending?
Oh, the one we are considering to amend and effectuate.
Yeah.
He will be an elected representative of the people of South Dine as the district chief executive, but with a far greater source of income or revenue to do things. Because he has 95% of the common fund that's allocated to the district assemblies at his disposal to undertake projects. I have 5%. And the problem I have with this report is that they, as one of the indices, they are asking constituents whether or not they are aware that an MP has access to common fund. They didn't indicate the percentage. But that is very fundamental. I have only 5%. Even the arrangement is statutorily defined. I don't even know how much is my account, how much, even the account number. Because if I make a...
So how do you access the bank?
Hold on. All I am supposed to do is to recommend that I want this cap to be purchased.
You recommend to who?
To my DC.
Okay. The assembly.
Yes, or specifically to my DC. I make recommendations that I want to do this for Evans. I want to buy this car for Evans. It costs 10 cedis. So my DC will have to approve of it.
Interesting.
If it doesn't approve, it doesn't get done.
And the man who is appointed by the president, why must he approve it?
Exactly. So those are the issues and the circumstances of prevailing at the district assemblies.
There's a certain emotive bond associated with the vote. When you vote for somebody, you are linked to that person
a social
by virtue of the term. Now, at local level presently, MPs are voted for, but by law, they don't control the resources.
At all.
The assembly which controls the resources is not voted for.
No, it's headed by
somebody
fellow
who is not voted for. But even those who are voted for are not voted on partisan lines. So the emotional attachment is a bit weak.
True.
Yeah.
You see, the question of voting for somebody identifiable to whom you are engaged is very, very important. So now, when a constituent wants something done, which by law is within the jurisdiction of the assembly, where the resources are and the right to prioritize and develop is, they do not have that emotive attachment. Indeed, they do not feel they even have a right to go to the assembly to demand anything.
Because I didn't vote for it.
It's not part of them. They don't think the assembly is there for them. The person they voted for is the one they want to see.
To see to their welfare.
Yes. So if that person also turns out not to have a legal right to influence development at the assembly, then you have a disjoint. And that's the biggest difficulty now. Because by law, and you have brought all these books and the constitution and others, the MP is a non-voting member of the assembly. The MP does not influence prioritization. The MP does not influence resource allocation. The MP does not determine development priorities. You don't have a vote. You can go, participate, advise, and move on. If you are very well respected, your views
And
may be
sponsor
taken into
programs,
account.
but you can't vote.
Yeah, well, that's what the sponsoring of the program is, because the people want you, they can come to you, they write to you, they tell you everything, because you are the person. And in 4 years, if they came to you and you were not nice and you didn't support them, they will,
They'll punish you.
They'll punish you. But can they punish the MC?
No.
Can they punish the assembly?
They might punish the president because he appointed them, but even that link sometimes
It's
is not.
too far off.
They may agitate and send petitions.
It's just too far
that
off.
he or she be removed.
So the impending change to have the DCs voted for is a game changer.
So what were you guys doing in Parliament today? What state was this? Is it okay?
What we're doing is that
This was laid and referred to our committee,
Okay.
Constitutional Legal.
Yes.
So we have looked at it, we are in agreement, but we came out with the point that what the government is seeking to amend is a single clause, in fact, a single sub-clause.
Of the Constitution.
Yes,
Yeah,
of 243.
even before you go into the details there, you need to look at a larger issue.
Exactly.
This bill 2431 only says that we are going to elect the DC. So you may end up having a DC elected on non-partisan basis.
Yes, so it's an independent person.
Exactly.
So we need the referendum to complete the loop. When we have the referendum, it says that political parties can now sponsor DCs
candidates
into that office. That is when the game-changing situation happens. Because what happens is that you have 3 power centers in a district.
Yeah.
You have the MP. It will rationalize everybody's role. The MP will now be free to focus on national issues,
Yeah.
but also still be an advocate for
At the
local
local
level matters, but not necessarily responsible for delivery. The DC, MC or otherwise then becomes directly responsible to the people for prioritization and delivery. Sequencing, those things begin to matter. What do you do now with the resources you have? They can ask you, because now they voted for you. And in 4 years, if you don't give it to them, they'll punish you.
Yeah.
Then comes the biggest third leg, which is the party. The party now becomes extremely important, because what we are doing is that we are now going to share power.
Okay.
We are going to share power. This is the winner takes all.
So if this was passed and the people approved right now, what we'll have is that NDC is in opposition, but it might have the DCs.
Exactly.
Yes, unless
areas.
the referendum passes as well.
Okay.
Then we can identify and say this is an NDC assembly. Because the DC is an NDC person and it is peopled by the NDC.
So the question that will go, I hope is that the question that will go to the referendum is what?
Let me.
I don't know if that's in the bill that you're considering.
The question that will go to the referendum will be whether or not you are in favor of DCs being elected at a universal adult suffrage.
Okay, but
on partisan basis.
They may not even add the partisan. One, they say universal adult suffrage. Political entities are by law.
This is already universal.
Yes, so
but
they are
55.3.
Yes, they are by law. They are by law permitted to participate.
Okay. Yes.
So, but that
in any
public provision says it cannot be on partisan basis.
Yes. It talks about local district assembly elections.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the election of MMDCs will be considered as a district assembly elections. So as a consequence of what is being proposed, will lead to several other amendments. So if I have your permission to read 243, the existing clause 2431 says there shall be a district chief executive for every district, which, if we say district, we mean by interpretation metropolitan assemblies and all.
Yeah.
Every district who shall be appointed by the president with the prior approval of no less than 2/3 majority of members of the assembly present and voting at the meeting.
This will go.
This is what we are amending.
Okay.
Okay. But the consequence is that
By this.
two.
Roxy,
Yeah.
that is what we are amending
By this. And what does
Exactly.
it say?
Exactly.
But what we are saying is that this one will change this and say that he will be elected by
Read
universal
it.
adult suffrage
Okay.
within the district,
Okay.
which
Okay.
means everybody in the district can vote for
yes.
the DC.
Of voting age.
But now, when you have this, you need to go to 55.3,
Okay.
which is a subject.
No, let me finish.
Before
We'll
you go
go
into
to-
the sub, before
yeah.
you go into the
Yeah.
sub, I want to establish the
says
larger
what? Okay.
principle.
Yeah, we says what?
The 55.3 then brings in political parties.
Okay.
55.3 says, subject to the provisions of this article, a political party is free to participate in shaping the political will of the people, to disseminate information on political ideas, social and economic programs of national character, and sponsor candidates for elections to any public office other than to district assemblies.
Is it going to be amended too?
Yes.
Yes, this is the subject
Consequentially.
of the referendum.
Okay. So
But-
this,
55.3 is going to the referendum,
Yes.
and it will allow political parties to sponsor candidates
Okay.
to DCE level
Okay.
and to assembly level, which means that an assembly theoretically could be held by the MPP as a political party. You understand?
Yeah.
And another assembly will be
Or
held by the
the
NDC,
Or the NDC.
as a political party. What immediately that introduces is that you bring everybody on board the development cycle.
true.
It means that if somebody has 49% and somebody has 51%, they are both involved in the governance of the country. It means that the people with 49% don't feel left out, and that the 51% has taken everything. It means that now they have a stake in the development process as espoused by the 51% who are in charge of the presidency.
Absolutely.
It means that we must tolerate each other. It means that we
Because
must
your
talk-
fates are tied.
We must talk to
Because
each other.
if the NDC's district fail to deliver,
Evans,
they may be
then the
punished.
MPP will be there.
Exactly.
Evans, I was making a very crucial
Yeah,
point.
finally, so that we can move back to the...
Y'all came in. When we amend this successfully, consequentially, it will have effect on 2B. Okay? It says that it will be responsible for the day-to-day performance of the executive and administrative function of the district. And then 2C, he will be the chief representative of the central government in the district.
Would this go to?
That will have to go.
No, but the central government, that is not saying...
Hold on. It was a subject of debate this afternoon.
An
see-
inconclusive debate.
Yes. But when I am an elected representative of the people of South Dine, I represent South Dine. I don't represent the central government.
But it depends on how you define central government.
Exactly. But it will have to go.
How?
Otherwise, who forms the central government?
Exactly. You have a share in power.
Exactly.
You have a share.
But what is the
in
purposive? What is the
policy making.
purposive? No, in interpreting this, why was this placed? Because that was when the central government, constituted by a certain political executive power, appoints. And that is why they say that DC is the president's representative in the locality. This
So your
was
interpretation is that the central government, these
now
the
you are
executive in
yes.
power. The executive.
Now you are responsible to the people of South Dine, not the central government.
So the beautiful thing.
The resources that comes to you to deal with, to undertake your developmental
Not by
projects
virtue
are
of-
statutorily defined.
Okay.
So whether or not you are in favor with the central government or not,
You get it.
You will get it. But it will also lead to a look at subclause 3, I think A and B. B says he will be removed from office by the president.
That can't happen anymore.
Yes, that must go. Then 3A also says a vote of no confidence supported by the votes of no less than 2/3 of all the members of the district assembly is passed against
Final
it.
question on this. We need to move on to this.
Yeah.
All these changes is in this bill?
No, just one,
this
but
is the
consequentially.
It will knock off all this.
Yes.
This is the starter.
We'll
So
lead-
as
we'll
we
lead
go,
to-
So let's come. Having said that, let's
Yeah.
come back to because this
Exactly.
this is interesting.
Yeah.
Because on that point, then, even if you succeed in getting this passed at the referendum, the poll result says the role of MPs. Majority of Ghanaians, then the poll you can extrapolate to the population. 50.8% say your role is advocate development.
Hold on, let's go to the role of the MPs.
I'm just reading it here so that you pick.
Yeah.
It says
Yeah.
here's the thing.
when I saw it,
58%.
no, it's very polished. It's carefully polished.
You think it's more than that?
Yes, I mean, they've done an excellent job. This is the University of Ghana.
Yeah.
Advocate development.
Okay.
Is that really what the people think?
No. They actually you're the development agent. You are the
expect you to be
executor
exactly
of the development.
Exactly, but this says they expect you to advocate development.
Yeah.
If it was just about advocating development,
That's easy
we
for
would
you
be
to
very
do.
comfortable. We would be very comfortable.
I get it. But you see what I mean, though. I get what you all the wedding is. But you
Yes.
see what I mean.
What it means is that this thing
It's
we're
an
talking about
euphemism
will
they employ.
rationalize,
Yes.
will rationalize
Yeah.
expectations.
But further, I just want to point more to the statistics. Supporting local community groups. What I mean, but your real job, as we know it, scrutinize legislation. Only 1.3% thought your real job is to scrutinize legislation. Now it goes further. Promising, but here's a link though. People say you brought this upon yourself, promising development projects. 88% said MPs promise them development projects. 88%.
We promise to advocate development.
You know, you promise to build them
Advocate
roads.
development. But that's what it
promise-
says here. Advocate
I get the point.
development.
I get the point. I mean, so, and
it's
then so
important.
this is your
but
creation.
This
Evans,
mustn't be downplayed.
Evans.
Listen, no, let me make a point.
I'll come to you. Sure.
This is where we ought to be and progressing to.
Yeah.
Where polls define who we are and
Yeah.
what we seek to do.
True.
To the extent that probably this focus more at local level,
Yeah.
you're showing
Proposing
the
new laws,
constituency.
2.6%.
Yes, it's one dimensional.
They don't even know that you do laws.
Odikro.
They don't care.
No, that indices is even wrong.
No, Odikro, for
I get you.
example,
I get you. Within that context, I get you.
Yeah.
Within
So
that
I'll
context.
touch on that.
Odikro focused on attendance,
Yeah.
for example, and then Parliament, and we failed.
Yeah.
Our committee has failed to the extent that we haven't sat with civil society to develop the indices.
Okay.
Because the Speaker has referred to us, this committee, Constitution, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs, to sit with civil society and develop common indices acceptable across board that civil society can use to test the performance of
effectiveness,
MPs. Yes, because some of the indices, I think, all credit to the University of Ghana, but to the extent that you go into the constituency and look at certain indices, it's a bit one-dimensional.
Okay.
Because your role changes, literally. The moment you are elected, you have other issues that come up. So some of the indices that have been used are a bit not quite the way they ought to be and to have been asked. But clearly, to the extent that only 1%, a little over 1% believe that we have anything to do with lawmaking, demonstrates a kind of disparity between the perception of our role, the functional role at local level, and the actual role that is conferred by law on us once we are voted for.
So here's the MP's dilemma then. So the majority of the people you're serving believe that you should get them development.
Yes.
You know that's not your job. Getting the DCs elected, does that change that perception in people's heads?
Absolutely.
I think, Roxy,
Well, it may not be.
does that lead to an automatic change?
No, it may lead to a greater change, but not absolute.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
It may not be absolute because still there will be expectations on the part of our people, i.e., for the sake of the old ways of doing things, people will still come to the MP. So what may happen is that we may be forced, Parliament may be forced to go the Kenyan way, or most of the East African national assemblies, where they develop legislation that also allocates funds to the office of the MP to execute projects. So they have the Constituency Development Fund Act. All right, and I want to believe that the $1 million one constituency policy, it was something my friends borrowed from East Africa, but they didn't execute it properly. Perhaps they should have underpinned that with legislation. That would have allocated the funds directly to the office.
Still working on it.
Yes, you are still working on it.
We're working on it.
Good.
We can't say we didn't do it.
But now it's a policy. So there's an obfuscation as to how it is implemented. But the point is this. Evans, I can understand when people in my constituency and other constituencies confuse the ROs, or when we go on politicking on, you know, and we promise heaven on earth and all that, and they take that against us. I can understand. But where the political science department of the University of Ghana, that's supposed to know better, go to town with these indices, I have a problem.
Particularly the one that you had an issue with is proposing.
Yes.
Proposing new laws.
I mean, they should do their research.
Where in Ghana
they should do their research. Indeed, by our constitutional arrangement, he and I, we cannot propose a bill that has economic financial implications on the public purse. We are so constitutionally constrained. Yeah. So when you go and ask my people that you want to find out whether or not I have proposed new laws, I know. Okay. Then 2, creating employment. It is one area that worries, that troubles every MP, whether in government or outside of government. And then you capture this and go to town to test, to gauge people's perception on it. Yeah, it's a problem.
Isn't it the reality? It's a pre-existing reality they want to test.
You see, you don't go testing, you go and test the actuals. And let's discuss those things.
But people have expectations of you that give them.
How me, an NDC MP, how am I supposed to create
that is why if you look at the dynamics,
that is why
MPP NDC in terms of does your MP assist people get employment opportunities, you find that more people said MPP MPs assist them get opportunities because
it means they are helping as an institution. They are helping to fuel the perception.
They're just testing the
reality. No, by this research, this will crystallize in the minds of people. So people will begin to agree that yes, so the MP indeed by these indices, some are actually finding jobs for the rest.
We will engage.
Yes, but the engagement will not dissipate.
That is why
it won't dissipate the function.
I'll come at you shortly, briefly.
That is why I disagree with you when you say that the situation will not change when we vote. The situation will change dramatically.
No, I didn't say it will change. You said
absolutely.
But I said
let me graduate to absolutely.
Okay.
Because you see,
you have to degrade from absolute to.
Parties will become responsible for local level development. So you are talking about technical capacity creation, you are talking about mobilization of knowledge at party level. Because parties are now going to be responsible for employing people at local level and getting the best to deliver. Whether you like it or not, you have local government service.
Doesn't permit things like that.
Please.
You can't be recruiting people on partisan lines. Otherwise, we are going to discriminate on
by having the reality.
No,
let me learn.
Roxy,
let me learn. You were talking about consequential amendments to 241.
Exactly.
There are going to be consequential changes to all the laws that we have because parties are now going to be recognized as local level mobilizers. They are not only going to mobilize people in Choboy fashion to rallies, they are going to mobilize technical capacity because they have to deliver at local level. They are going to be mobilizing husbanding financial resources. Parties will be on the lookout for the best. The laws will be such that parties will have a great say, and that means capacity building. You understand what I'm saying? So if parties are building capacity, it will impact on output and delivery at local level. It will impact on job creation. It will impact on knowledge. It will impact on the way we mobilize. It will impact even on succession planning. Because people will grow in parties from local level all the way through MPship to national level. Rather than the current situation where somebody walks in and wants to be an MP because that's the immediate entry point for elections. So people will actually be molded. People will be mentored. People will deliver through the party. And in that sense, the parties will pick up the best from grassroots level. There will always be the national civil service at national level. There will be the local government service. But the party, because the DC is in charge and the party has a role to play at local level, those positions will be influenced a great deal.
Roxy.
Yes. I disagree with Yao to the extent that he says parties will now begin to look inward and begin to effect recruitment alongside personnel that they may prop up to fill vacancies at the local levels. Our constitution frowns on that. It means if I'm an NDC person and I find myself in an NPP dominated or controlled district assembly, then I'm completely out. And that's the kind of scenario playing almost at the national level. We need to avoid that. This arrangement is only supposed to replicate what is happening at the National Assembly. Let the party sponsor a candidate. When you win, when you are elected into office, you are not elected only for your party.
Yeah, but you need everybody.
Hold on. Exactly. So if you sit here and you advocate that the parties are going to take charge, then others that are of requisite skill sets but are not of your party dispensation will be taken out. Yeah, but that is the impression.
A party takes charge does not mean that the party is only going to look for party.
But that is the advocacy. That is the advocacy you are espousing.
Roxanne, our parties are very weak.
I agree.
Our parties are very weak.
I agree.
Now this legislation,
but the structural strengthening at the local level must not be done to engender a situation where
people are discriminated.
Exactly.
Sustainability and survival. The parties will go for the best.
Gentlemen,
I
want to take a quick break. When I return, we'll finish this one, and then we'll go to the general other issues about the other criteria they use to assess the MPs and see how this could be addressed permanently going forward. Stay with us, MPM Express. So let's wrap it up and ask Dafa. So you look at all this globally. Does that pose a threat to whoever is the current MP? Because it's clear that generally the perception of, I've heard somebody say that in politics right now the MP is a dying breed. You always have a target on your back because I see it's all negative.
In fact, you sleep on tongues.
I mean, more so for the incumbent MPs, I mean governing MPs, than for the NDC MP, but the margins are very, very slim. All of you seem to have a problem with the people.
Well, I'm happy they say we are performing better than Yao and his colleagues.
Yeah,
I'm happy
on many of the indications, right?
Because
like visiting the public forum.
Because you see, it's natural that when you are in government, you have other responsibilities. Yes, and
we have a minute to wrap. So we have just have a minute, and he has a minute.
So it's a good research, but a lot of the NDCs they used, or some of the NDCs they used, go to fuel certain perceptions and certain negative things about MPs that we thought, being the Department of Political Science, those sidesteps and deal with the real issues. Because we don't look. How can you expect me to use 80,000 Ghana cedis to construct a road? What kind of road?
So don't promise it.
No, we don't promise.
But the people say majority of you kind of make promises.
You see, yes, I may make a promise. And for instance, I have used about 180,000 of my common fund to offer scholarships. There was nothing about scholarships. Because now scholarship funded school fees at the tertiary level have gone up. On the average, 5,000.
Okay.
So if somebody brings me a bill 5,000, I should be able to help the person with 1,000.
Final question to you, and I'll come there. Does the election of DCs or is it a silver bullet that addresses this? Is it a silver bullet?
Yeah, to a greater extent.
Okay.
Yeah, to a greater extent.
Fix it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think.
But it will place it at a disadvantage. So we'll call for equal measure. We will have to be propped up as well. Yeah.
Is that a silver bullet?
Going forward, I think polling is critical.
Okay.
To the political health of this democracy that we have. Our elders say that sometimes when you are cutting a path, you don't see that your back is crooked. This is the only way you tend to find out what democracy really thinks. It may have some gaps or otherwise, but we should encourage more so that we can strengthen as we go along.
Credible ones.
Yeah, they will be credible. The first, we have Afrobarometer, we have all other polls, but this is homegrown and it's useful. Except that, like I said,
some of the
it's
NDCs are horrible.
to think that you only look at the backyard rather than the other responsibilities. So we need to round it out and then begin to assess effectively, because we have to build parliament.
Yeah, you know that they check
institution.
whether you should contest 2020. You know. Yeah, they did.
Our contest.
That's it for PMS, and enjoy the rest of your evening.